What is going on, everybody? Simply 10 here today with, you know what? What is going on, everybody? Simply greetings. Oh my gosh. So it turns out that if you roll on your chair really fast in a room with low shelves, the chair literally gets like it's stuck. What is going on, everybody? Simply 10 here today with a brand new video, and today we're just gonna stick to the basics because I thought I could do something, but I can't, so let's just go ahead and, jump right into this video because I thought it'd be a fun idea to come out and bring you guys today's video. Obviously, if you didn't look at today's thumbnail or video title, then you have no idea what I'm going to be talking about today, but I'm guessing you did, so, we're just going to be talking about, green minifigures because today is St. Patrick's Day, and these are actually all figures that I own as well, so you'll be able to get very close looks at every single one of them, and I just thought it'd be a unique and fun video idea. Just one thing that I would like to mention before we jump in here is the fact that I am a channel here on YouTube, which means that I make content like this pretty often, in fact about twice a week. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to go and check out all of my other content, and then if you enjoy all of it, be sure to really consider subscribing so you don't miss out on my next great video. And there are actually prizes if you guys can get me to 1,000 subscribers. Alright, so here he is, my 10th favorite minifigure that I own that can't get pinched because, well, he's wearing green. But the thing about this guy is, he's, wearing green, but it's for the wrong holiday. So I'm not exactly sure if that counts, but in my book it does. So yes, this holiday elf isn't like my favorite minifigure that I own that is green, but he's definitely up there in the top 10. And, he just deserved something to bring him out. And he's not that exciting of a minifigure. Obviously, you can see he has no back printing, no arm printing, nothing special on his head. Really, the only thing about him is his torso print, while the rest of him is very basic. And he's become, even less special with the most recent, Winter Village set that came out. So he's kind of, off on the sideline now, just wishing. My 9th favorite minifigure that I own that cannot get pinched on today's holiday is Black Widow. And Black Widow, I definitely wasn't that excited to be getting her in the first place. I was really getting this set because of the blue Infinity Stone that came in it, but I was actually rather surprised with how well her printing looks, and I'm actually very impressed, and I really like this figure. I just, Black Widow really isn't my thing. I'm not really that into this character, but I think she's a very good print, and definitely one that is worthy of not getting pinched on St. Patrick's Day. My 8th favorite minifigure that I own that is green is actually a very special one to me. I have only been to Legoland once, and when I went there, I actually traded to get this figure. So I traded an Emmett, I think, because I had 1,000 Emmets but 0 President businesses, so I'm really glad that I was able to get this figure when I went there. And he honestly has some very cool printing. I really like all of his checkers. I even, all the fun throwbacks, almost really old school golfing in a way that, really isn't seen by golfers who go around and do it today. But in terms of really catching a really old school golf look, I really like the look of this figure. And I think that, he's just a fun one to have, a very exclusive one to have, as he only came in one minifigure series. And he's definitely one that I am glad that I own. However, there's definitely 7 more figures that I own that I enjoy more than this one. As for my 7th figure here on this list, I have Iron Fist, and Iron Fist is actually a very cool figure to me because he's the only Iron Fist that LEGO has ever made, and I have the pleasure of owning him, so I'm very happy to own this figure. And I think he's definitely not the greatest print because it definitely is more of an old school kind of LEGO print in terms of, it was made about 10 years ago, so it's not going to be the greatest quality or anything like that. But he has held up well over the years, and as you can see, he, has a very basic, nice Iron Fist printing on his torso, a really nice yellow belt, and I actually, really like this yellow head of his. I've used him, for a lot of things, especially, when I was younger and I wanted to make, specific characters for different things. This has actually come in, very useful and very handy in different situations, and I think that he's just a very fun figure, and, definitely something that, I'm really glad that I own, and he's definitely worthy of being on this green list. The next figure on my list here at number 6 is my favorite green LEGO DC figure, and this is Green Lantern. He's actually a very cool one to me because he's actually the one that came in the collectible minifigure series at the beginning of 2020, and this is, in my opinion, the best rendition of a Green Lantern that we've seen in terms of, his ring and his lantern. I think that they're both really cool. This ring here is... I just reached in and he just... Look at him down there. He's just where even is his ring? I don't even know where it went to. Alright, here we go, bro. Here we go. This thing. Just gotta put this on. Put the ring in his hand this time. Maybe I'll nope. Why can't it just... Next up here on my list, I have a Kashyyyk clone trooper, and I actually really like this figure. He is number 5 for a reason, and I think that he's just a very cool, and he's like one of the very first clone troopers I got, and he's definitely like a great first LEGO clone trooper to get because he has a very like phenomenal printing, and I think he looks really nice, and it's a great rendition of a Kashyyyk trooper. I would be very surprised if LEGO decided to go and change this like drastically in the near future, like because I think that this looks really cool, and there's nothing wrong that I see with his printing. He's just, you know, he's just a clone trooper, and that's the reason why he's a little bit lower on this list. But in terms of just printing in general and stuff like that, he's pretty good and he's pretty high up there. The only thing is you know, he has the old style clone trooper head if, you know, you're not really into that sort of thing. But, I mean, he does... Yeah, I kind of forgot how ugly those little things looked, but I mean, you never take his helmet off anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, so let's just... So yeah, he's definitely a great figure and definitely one that I am glad to own, and there's definitely that perk there that he's green, which allows him to be on this list. Next up here on my list is my favorite green LEGO Harry Potter minifigure, and like this is actually very surprising to me because you think that green would be a little bit more like of a thing in LEGO Harry Potter, but it really isn't. Like there's just Slytherin and then there's Professor McGonagall, and in terms of LEGO, that means there's just Draco or Professor McGonagall. And obviously, I'm going to choose her over Draco any day, so, I mean, she just has, you know, cool printing. I actually really like the really nice details on her torso here. I like all the little lines. I like, you know, her face is definitely a pretty good face. The only thing that is wrong with her, obviously, is, like, she doesn't really have hair, but they did fix that with the most recent rendition of this figure. I just don't own that figure, so I decided that I'd show off this one instead because, you know, it's the one that I own, and, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The one thing that actually really surprised me about this figure is the fact that she has a second face, so I'm just going to pull this off, even though, you know, I haven't really done that yet with these figures. But I mean, I think it's just kind of cool how this hat actually manages to hide that second face. So next up here on my list is Louie from DuckTales, and I actually really like this figure, and it probably definitely like makes this figure a lot more lovable to me because I have all 3 of the DuckTale minifigures, like all 3 of the other ones. Like I have Scrooge, I have Huey, I have Dewey, and I have Louie. So I mean, it really rounds up that collection, and it just makes me like so happy to see them all together. And while Louie isn't the most phenomenal figure, he does have a custom mold that was very custom for him and his 2 brothers in this LEGO Minifigures series that he came in, so I think that that's a really cool thing that LEGO was willing to go out and do that for a specific LEGO minifigure, and you know, it definitely paid off really well. I definitely like the look of this minifigure. Even though he's simple, he's supposed to be simple, and you know, I enjoy that. I'm glad that he looks this way, and I'm really happy that I own this figure, and like I said before, it definitely helps that I have all the other ones because it just makes this one even better. I had a really hard time choosing between these final 2 minifigures because Bail Organa has some really cool printing. Like they did a really good job with this figure. I actually really like his cape. I like his face printing. I like his hair, even though, you know, it's not very special or anything like that. It definitely captures him very well. Even though he has no leg printing, I don't think he really needs it. However, you know, that would have still added to the figure. Like, they could have given him boots or something like that. And I think since we're in the top 2 here, he's worthy of, you know, showing off his back print as well, which there really isn't one. So that's, you know, kind of a thing that maybe you don't quite like about this figure. Adding on top of this, he's the most expensive figure I own on this list because he cost $200 to get in the most recently retired Tanda V4, so I mean, definitely keep that in mind as well. Like, this is a very expensive figure, and he definitely doesn't, like, look extremely premium, but in my opinion, I think he looks really nice. It's because he just has really nice printing, and they did a really good job capturing this character. But, you know, in the end, when it comes down to it, it's going to be really hard to beat the nostalgia of my childhood because this figure right here literally is my childhood. I loved LEGO Ninjago as a kid. I loved every single season. I rewatched every single season multiple times over and over again, and the Sloyd figure definitely was like the crowning moment of my LEGO collection when I finally was able to get him. And I am so glad I own him. I really like this figure. He's a really cool green figure. And honestly, he's probably in the top 10 minifigures that I own in general. So that's definitely a really cool thing about this figure as well. Like, he's not just a top 10 green, he is a top 10 overall because he is really cool. I really love this minifigure. I think they did a really good job with him, especially considering the fact that, you know, he's a little bit older of a figure. Obviously, the only thing that's kind of weird about him is his face print. It just looks a little strange. Like, especially, you know, that's not really what he looked like in the show at all. Like, it's a very like wonky proportiony thingy version of what he looked like in the show, so definitely not the greatest rendition of that fact. But other than that, I love this figure and there's absolutely no reason why I would ever regret owning him. Other than that though, here is all of those amazing figures lined up here for you in like a really cool way. I mean, doesn't that just look awesome? All of them side by side next to each other. I really like the look of every single one of these minifigures. Even my bottom, like even this elf over here looks pretty nice, and you know, he's a pretty good, like just fun figure that I was able to own for quite a while before he wasn't that exclusive anymore. Some of these figures, like I said, you know, are more here for the printing compared to like the actual figure themselves, but I mean, most of these, I'm really glad that I own these figures and I think they look really cool, and I am especially glad that none of them can get pinched because because none of them deserve to be pinched on a day like this. They're all way too cool, way too awesome to ever, like, you know, have anything like that come upon them. And I'm just glad that I was able to share this with you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Anyways, that is all that I have to say for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to really consider subscribing. And, you know, don't forget about those prizes if you guys can get me to 1,000 subscribers. Other than that, though, if you just, you know, enjoyed this video, be sure to let me know by leaving a like or even a comment in the section down below, letting me know what I did well, or, you know, what I should change, or, you know, like, what was your favorite figure that I showed you? But, you know, in the end, it's okay if this video didn't earn your subscription or anything of that sort, because what I'm hoping for is that it earned me the opportunity to see you guys in the next one.